We only have like an intro that we normally do. I only had the 4 butthole jokes or the 4 butthole questions. Anyone know any good butthole trivia?
I'm just gonna do some Jellicle Cat ASMR.
I really hate this. I really hate this. Anyone got some good cat stories? There was that time that Lou pissed on all of our book bags.
Oh, no, it was just yours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it was specifically your book bag, and then after you moved out and my new roommate moved in, she peed in his book bag too. It's just she amazingly hasn't done it to Becca.
So it's got a thing then, huh?
Just dudes' backpacks apparently.
That's fucking weird. Hey, welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, and here along with me, as always, is also host Joe Nealis. We are doing, for the first time, a part 2.
Wait, I get to be on the first 2-parter?
You're on the first
This
part
is the
two.
first 2-parter. Yeah, we've never had to do this before.
Fuck you guys.
I think we had talked about maybe doing it for Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, because it was a long episode.
Because it was a long episode, but we were able to trim it down well enough to fit into the time frame we desired.
Like, nobody wanted like an extended Lord of the Rings cut version of Cats, so we're splitting it in 2. All the movies on DeRazzled won Worst Picture at the Razzies the year they were released. The Razzies, for those of you who don't know, are something of reverse Oscars. They recognize the worst films of the year. Once again, we're dealing with cats.
We're continuing to deal with cats.
Oh, doggy. So, if you... I'm sober. I'm unfortunately sober. So if you're listening to this before you listen to the first part, I'm confused, and I'd like to know why.
I'm going to send you a survey to fill out so I can better understand you.
Get a hold of us. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Let us know why.
You would know where on Instagram and Facebook if you listened to the last episode.
But for those of you who just need a refresher, we talk about cats. Cats. It was a musical, and it sings about cats. It's about cats.
It's all cats.
The porn community had a response that was positive.
No, largely negative.
Largely negative.
The porn.
No, largely negative.
So I should say largely indifferent.
Oh, there we go.
Except for Taylor Swift.
Oh.
No, again, like the worst possible answer was celebrity fakes, and that's the only thing that got any traction.
The furry community also had a response that
deeply
was
negative.
Deeply negative. Yeah.
But the children of the McElroys deeply positive.
Don't put those things next to each other.
You're right. I am the pervert here. So we are now in what would normally be Act 3, and we still are. It's just going to be a real big one. And in Act 3, what we do is we talk about what worked for the film and what didn't work. The first thing we're going to do is talk about the cast. So in the movie Cats, who works? Vince?
I mean...
Oh shit, I didn't introduce... Hey, this is Vince. He's our victim.
Yeah, who are the 2 people that are on this?
Right, yeah, it's... We just have we're very good at voice work, Joe and I. We're doing
it's just been Jack and I in a room the entire time.
Yeah. Secret ventriloquists.
Once again, guesting, we have special expert Rob Hockenberry. And then SAP victim, Vince DeStefano. I'm sorry, Vince. Vince, who worked for you?
It's really hard for me to say that Ian McKellen doesn't work in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he worked for me too.
Yeah, I think that he brought a weird, ignoble and also noble gravitas to just being a cat. A theater, like, so he was both like old timey theater guy whose glory days are behind him, and also cat that rubs his face on stuff.
Yeah,
and he like went hard on both of them
with aplomb.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say no to him. I also weirdly, what's narrator cat's name again? Rob?
Munkustrap.
Munkustrap. Mm-hmm. Is that MONG?
MUN.
It's all U's, yeah.
It's a lot of U's.
Mungustrap. He also kind of worked for me after, as you said last time, creepy guy in the corner of a party.
Right.
He started off that way and then quickly became like, oh no, he makes me feel a tiny bit safe.
Right, he's the leader.
for the rest of this movie.
He's the narrator, but he's also like the leader of the group who guides you through this world.
The face of the Jellicle Cats.
Yes.
Yeah. As Jellicle Cat Face, I think he did a really good job of Sherpa-ing me through the shadow of the Valley of Death.
Who worked for you?
It's hard to say. There's obviously Ian McKellen does really nice with his part. There are a lot of like what we would call the no names that I think do well with where they were told to take the character. Like I hate what they did with Horny Mistopheles. But I feel like the actor really committed to it and did well with what he was told to do.
I also have him, Laurie Davison.
Yeah, like I thought, Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, same thing. I thought that fucking siblings was weird, but they committed to what the director gave them.
So you also read that scene the same way?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
How can you not?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird threesome.
Okay, yeah.
It is. And then there's things like, if I listen to Jennifer Hudson's performance, I think it's brilliant and breathtaking and amazing. But then I see
an
CGI
incredible-
snot, and
Yeah.
they made some really, like, she was sabotaged by what they did around
Her voice is amazing.
I
though.
don't
She-
think there's a single actor in this that wasn't sabotaged by the production itself. Like, even though I liked Ian McKellen, he's held back by, one, the narrative that he's given, and two, the world he exists in. But him as a performer, loved it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Laurie Davison. Mistopheles specifically had something really hard on Uncanny Valley for me. I don't know what it was about, like, white fur on his, like, pale ass face.
It was his hands. I figured
His hands
this
were
out.
fucking weird too.
Yeah, his hands were. So he's black and white cat, really hard colors on his face, pink, fleshy human hands.
Yes. Right.
They didn't change it for some fucking reason.
Doesn't he have like kind of pink fleshy lips too? I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Now I just want someone to go back in and like Photoshop in just like hairy knuckles and like a bunch of rings.
But because he's a magic cat, they're trying to draw attention.
Oh, that's it.
Well, they did.
I get it, but it also now looks like a cat with human
Yes.
hands.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Hard agree on Jennifer Hudson, by the way. She actually, both times I've watched it, not the first two, but the third time she sings it, I feel something.
Yeah.
Other than horror, which is amazing.
Yes. And like, I don't mind Francesca, whatever, who's playing Victoria the White Cat. She's doing a very good impersonation of Emmy Rossum, Phantom of the Opera, with just gaze face.
It's all Gay's face.
It's all, but that's also like,
The character.
yeah, because they created something that wasn't really there.
Yeah.
And like I love Cassandra in the stage show. She's the Siamese cat, the one that's off by herself with the slightly darker lines, and all she is a raging bitch in the movie. And like,
Is she the one that like walks up to people and hisses and that's
Yes.
all she does? Okay,
much.
I know who we're talking about.
I just referred to her as like Diva Cat throughout the summary because I didn't know who that was.
and I mean, I'm part Swiftie, but we're not going to discuss that.
You don't want to talk about Rule 34 for the rest of this episode too?
She's the only person I know as a performer who I'm like, I really enjoy watching them in concert. There's energy, and it just has never translated to anything I've seen her in film with.
Which is weird because like the movie almost stops when she appears. We get a Taylor Swift music video.
Yeah.
Then it's done,
Yeah,
and we
it-
continue with the movie.
And they
Yeah.
totally, it's annoying as fuck that they did this. They totally, because they only had her for a week.
Yep.
Virtually every move she does as Bomb Ballerina is from a Taylor Swift video. Like they recreated stuff
okay.
she already knew. She's an amazing dancer when she has time to learn it. She probably
Sure.
didn't. So they picked all of basically her
That makes
moves to
sense.
stick in there and cut 2/3 of the character from the show.
Wow.
Like Bomb Ballerina is in the whole show. She has multiple stuff to do
Yeah.
without. She's part of the trios earlier, like and they
She was
cut
in
it
on the
down
threesome
there.
as well.
Yeah, and then all they did is made her.
Force.
Tom's like, "Be high, Taylor," and of course Taylor's too sweet to ever have been high, so she doesn't know what it's like. So this high pseudo sex kitten that's a virgin thing comes across.
It was a lot of weird flavors.
Yeah,
Rob, you're the only thing that gives any substance to this podcast.
You're hired. I just shout prevert. Joe laughs at it.
That's about it. I'm very easily amused.
I'm here for the boring parts of the conversation.
Joe, is there anybody that you felt?
I mean, we talked about in the first episode just like how much we like weirdly enjoyed Growl Tiger for whatever reason.
For like 30 seconds on screen, yeah.
A quick Panzram.
Yeah.
Quick Carl Panzram. Good Lord. Honestly, I think that might wrap it up for everyone that kind of works.
I'm gonna say Dame Judi Dench had some moments that felt really awkward. That, like when she she's sitting on the couch and she lifts her leg.
Yeah.
That clanged for me super hard.
We'll get to
The
it.
calisthenics moment was just
Yeah. But then there are a bunch of moments where it's like I, actually felt drawn to like this queenish character. So like half a Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, there are aspects of her in that role that do work, and I think that is largely the gravitas around her.
Sure.
Like if I didn't know her from other films, I would not have enjoyed her performance.
Yeah.
And I really didn't. Like because I have seen her in other stuff. I'm like, you can do way better.
Yeah.
I mean, she was given turds to work with, so.
I mean, that might be an insult to turds.
Sorry, turds.
But also, there's an inconsistency to her Deuteronomy because they added layers to the character that aren't there in the stage show. Like, he's just this nice, benevolent Uber cat in the movie. The stage show. And in the movie, there are times when she's like a female dog. Like, she gets snippy and really catty at different points that don't really fit who the character is for the rest of the movie.
Cat Yahweh.
The vibe I got from the show from Deuteronomy was very was kind of like Father Christmassy.
Yes.
Kind of.
That's exactly. Father Christmassy getting ready to star in Where the Wild Things Are, the musical.
Yeah. And, like everyone loves him. He's big and jolly. Like, yeah.
And sometimes he shoots a cat into space.
And sometimes he eats a cat in the space.
He offers a hand to gently put her on a used tire.
Did you guys not care for Rum Tum Tugger? Because I didn't mind him.
Actually, I will say Jason Derulo, he didn't clang for me. Mm-hmm. I'll say that much.
Except, what about milk?
Well,
Well,
yeah. I mean,
dude really likes milk. He's got strong bones.
He has a vitamin D deficiency.
I don't like the character in general, but I think he played the character well as written.
He brought a good swagger to the character, I think. But
and he's up for butt stuff.
He's up for butt stuff.
Which is always wonderful to do butt stuff. However, the problem is he sucks at all of his non-featured moments. Anytime he's in a background shot or he has like a one line here or there, he phoned it in. Probably did. They filmed him on his phone because it was better than what they had to work with in the raw material.
Jesus.
There was the scene where the awful scene where Bustopher Jones is getting CGI champagne from Tugger.
Oh yeah,
this feels weird in every possible way. Yeah.
Every time, like both times I watched it, I had to recoil at the glug glug sing, glug glug sing.
I forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
Remember when I
think I repressed that.
And he mentioned it earlier, so.
In the first part, I mentioned that the soundtrack cuts out 99% of the shit.
Yeah,
they kept the glug glug.
No, that's the 1%.
That's the 1%. Yeah.
Fuck.
That's not the show.
That's a bad sign when your soundtrack for a musical has to be re-recorded for release as a commercial album. Like, even as shitty as Mamma Mia is, they didn't re-record it for release.
I hate it. God. So the way we normally do this is we do cast, story, themes, production.
I do have one other additional cast thing. My wife picked up on a fact that horrified me. Mm-hmm. James Corden is billed ahead of Judi Dench. And like everybody else.
Fucking what?
Yeah. James Corden, I'm pretty sure is first billed in the credits at the end.
What?
Excuse me?
I don't know why.
How?
Is it alphabetical?
No, it's not alphabetical, and it's not in order of appearance.
I mean, it's a sad statement.
Yeah.
It's probably actually the most famous person. I know, because Taylor's bigger than him.
Yes.
That is. Wow, he's got a really good agent. Can I sign up for that?
Yeah.
Fucking
maybe it's like a signing thing, like he'll sign on if you do XYZ.
And that's probably why they expanded Bustopher.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Bustopher and Jenny were both larger in the movie than they were on stage.
Cool, I hate it. What worked for story? What worked for story?
Nothing. Next.
I've got nothing.
I was going to be amazed if you did, honestly.
Well, we covered earlier how, CGI aside, Grisabella's arc works. You get to see a character suffer pain and move on to something
But
new.
we like
That was
aside from her performance, there is nothing of her pain. She's just in pain, and we're told she had to live in the wasteland, and that is all of the story. That's kind of not a plot.
If you pay really close attention to the lyrics, there is more story there about how, like, she fell for the guy who was going to make her a star, and then the first wrinkle he threw her out. I mean, it's a story we've seen 1,000 times, but
Yeah.
But it's also, I guess, like, for plot-wise, even when I watch musicals, I'm not an avid musical consumer, but the times when I do, my favorite ones are the ones where I'm shown and not told.
Yeah.
And this is just like a song about how shit's sad, and then she goes to space.
I mean,
that's their
everything.
entire story.
That's everything Andrew Lloyd Webber's ever written.
I mentioned this in part 1. The only part of the story I enjoyed was the added song and interaction, Beautiful Ghosts, where Victoria responds to Grisabella, and they have an interaction about, like, we both want more than this, but we're connecting in our loneliness and our desire to be,
And you're right, it's the only time in the movie where there's an emotional connection between two characters that isn't sex or comedy.
Yeah. And not in the show.
Nope.
And not the show. The one thing that upsets me about that is in an interview, Taylor Swift was asked about what it's like to write a song for this, and she said, "Well, I mean, when you're doing Cats, you if you can't get T.S. Eliot, you get T.S."
Ugh.
And I vomited, blacked out, woke up 3 days later.
We should keep in mind she did not write the entire song. She only wrote the lyrics.
She wrote it along with Andrew Lloyd Webber, didn't she?
Quote unquote.
She wrote words, he put music to it. He doesn't collaborate on his end of things.
Right.
Which is why all of his collaborators have left him.
Huh. How about that?
Hi, Tim Rice.
So, do we feel good with moving on from story? As
The
far as what
movie
worked?
Boom.
All right, cool. We'll go on the themes.
Yeah, do it.
So what worked as far as themes go? I have the wanting to belong, longing for the past, basically Grisabella, Victoria, and Gus's narrative, and then nothing else.
I found the overwhelming enthusiastic desire to die pretty relatable.
Joe, I don't know if we're going to be able to find a chandelier.
This may be me reaching. There is a theme, I think it's a little stronger in the stage show, but just because of the structure, it's like anecdote, 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 anecdote. Each cat is celebrating what makes them special and unique.
Yeah.
So there is a theme through of accept your differences.
I like that.
And when we go to the fix, I kind of have something similarly where it's not there. The theme is not there unless you really look for it, and you're almost putting it there yourself. Like the puzzle pieces are there, but they're not put together.
The quilt is laid out. The pieces have been stitched together.
Right. Production. Anything with a production work. I don't honestly. I don't think so. Like, I don't think any part of the production I was like, this is so good.
The shot of the Moulin Rouge wheel was
That was nice. Yeah. Whoever felt the need to put that in there.
There are like flickering moments of cinematography like that pop up and are.
But who had the idea to put the literal pearl necklace on her in a three-way sex?
Oh God, they sure did do
They
that.
sure did. I'm so glad we keep returning to this.
You brought it up, and we've not been able to.
Well, and
Yeah,
actually,
we can't. It's forever just going to be right at the forefront of my goddamn mind as we do this.
but speaking of moments of cinematography, the introduction of Gus with Mistopheles in the background, where he's soft focus and you're focusing on.
I did really like that shot. Yeah.
It's pretty sad that that's what we're going to as a positive because there's so few.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
We dug under the barrel. We're halfway to sing.
That's kind of what you have to do though with this. It's just so much. So much of it is just so. It oscillates from overwhelming and like washed out to just straight up boring. And
Yeah.
It's both at the same time all the time.
yeah.
I'm kind of curious. You had mentioned earlier that like a lot of the VFX was A labor hellscape, and B, like, people, like, chucked all of the problems on the Uncanny Valley that ended up coming out of it, which was a major fucking component. But would, as a person, actually, have you, Rob, do you do any movie stuff or just purely theater?
99% theater.
Okay. So for people who have done any film production stuff, does most of that lay on, like, director, producer, editor? Where does, like, the fact that outside of the uncanny valley of the CG, the fact that everything else is a production nightmare, where does the rest of that usually fall?
Are you, what specific element are you referring to?
I guess fucking all of it. So
we actually had a very similar
hideous
conversation with Mike in our Guilty Pleasure episode.
It's like art direction, shot choice, like fucking all of it feels bad.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We
had what film were we talking about? We were talking about Daredevil.
We were talking about Daredevil. Yeah, because the director was also the writer and Mark Steven Jacobson,
Mark Zuckerberg,
Mark Zuckerberg,
Steve.
Jingleheimer.
Give him
Schmidt.
a quick look. So basically, what we discussed, who is to blame for Daredevil, and I think the desired answer is a single person. It's more satisfying to say, like, fuck you, director or producer. Yeah.
Good old Tommy Hoops. There's never just one person.
There's never just one person.
When you're doing something of this scale, with so many people involved and so much money wrapped up in it, there's never just one person.
There's like a sore thumb that sticks out.
Oh, yeah.
But even if you can't blame it all on Tom Hooper, because
to be fair, he is a thumb who has been whacked with a hammer quite a few times in the course of this. He stands out quite a bit. But no, I think whenever it comes to those decisions and revolving around the visual effects, like, I feel like his influence has got to be minimal. I imagine there's a lot of studio work there. There's a lot of producer influence there.
If kind of like what we did with Avatar, where it's like, here are the big things that made this movie impossible to be good. The things that would fix this movie, time.
Yeah,
you gave the video effects people can do their job. You gave them 4 months. No. I'm actually like really impressed with what they did with 4 months.
Yeah, like it's like with The Last Airbender, how they had to pivot all that time into converting so much of it to 3D at the last minute.
Yeah,
but even like shot choice and art direction, like I feel like those things fall outside of like that time crunch, or do they not?
You still need, so like the people who decide the actual time allotted are the execs, right? Like the people at the top, and they very much wanted this to be a Christmas release.
Yeah.
They also decide that, they'll talk to the director, they'll talk to the director heads and say, like, how much time do you need for XYZ? They'll negotiate that. David Fincher on Alien 3 was like, I need X, Y, and Z. And they're like, you get ABC, which is much less in each of these areas. And then it went, according to the executives, it went over on all those things to the exact number that David Fincher said he needed. And he's like,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Except that I told you.
So I don't, there actually wasn't a whole lot of information as far as like the production for Cats, outside of like the video effects people getting screwed real bad. So I don't know. I don't even know what studio did this. Do you know?
Universal. But here's the thing. The actual producing studio is the really useful group, which is Lloyd Webber's. And that's where your biggest problem is that this is a movie that has FX in literally almost every shot of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Because like even that bedroom romper scene, they only built 3/4 of the set. So the background of every shot and that had to be filled in. The movie needed to be treated by people who know how to do like a superhero movie. Something. And you had people, like the worst parts of Les Mis are swooping FX shots.
Tom Hooper also directed.
Sure did.
And that's the thing. He has no experience in any aspect of how that works. He doesn't know how to integrate his camera shot into what CGI is going to be. You have Andrew Lloyd Webber, who in his brain, because he's an egoist, thinks that oh, well, every movie I do is going to be the same, because in his mind, the direct-to-video tapings of Joseph and Superstar and Cats were real movies. He calls them real movies.
Which is weird.
They are.
But they're not.
Better shot stage films, but they're not.
They're not movies.
But that's the thing, is that's still building off the stagecraft of what he had built for Broadway. Like,
and even his movies, with the exception of Evita, where he had Alan Parker at the helm to be like, no, Andrew.
I should bring him up later. So.
Okay. Superstar was like, let's just get a bunch of hippies drunk in this desert and film a movie. Like, that's what his film versions have been. So he has no clue what amount of work, and he's the one, like, Universal distributed it really useful, paid for everything.
Okay. That makes sense. So that doesn't really answer your question.
No, but it does, in that, like, there's no single person to blame. Pretty much everybody at the head of anything fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, some more than others. I don't know how an art director came into this and had it. Like, what do you even do? Like, I'm assuming it did have an art director, but, like, everything was CG, so...
Well, but the art director would have been, like, all of the furniture pieces in the bedroom, all of the kitchen tables and such for Jenny Anydots. Like,
even deciding
really
color palette for this shit. And the color palette was, like, tough. It was hard to be around. Pretty much all the time.
And it didn't vary much.
Yeah.
Like, the set with Jenny Anydots, I actually kind of liked that set. It was like a dirty like a high saturation, but like a little dirty. Like it had as I describe it in the first part, kind of a Smashing Pumpkins vibe. Tonight.
I that's exactly what popped into my head when you made that joke in the first episode, and I've not been able to unthink of it.
After, you know what? This is a sidebar, but like after I wrote that joke, I was like, no, it doesn't remind me of that music video. Specifically, it's what the fuck's his name? Billy
Corgan.
It's that every child mouse looks like Billy Corgan.
I kind of want to watch the movie a third time just to see what you saw.
I was so uncomfortable, and I had to like dig deep into my psyche to be like, what is it about this that's bothering me?
So now I'm going to see clips of that and just immediately think in the back of my head, the world is a vampire.
Well, it also almost looks like there were two different art directors that didn't talk.
Yeah.
Because a large chunk of the scenic design is meant to look 30s. You've got the 30s car, you've got the theater, the kitchen looks 30s, 40-ish, the bedroom looks 30, but then you've got a lighting designer that went, oh, the show's set in the 80s, let's do neon everything.
Right,
and then the milk bar, which
the fuck is that? Yeah.
Just a bunch of cats coming in after the bout of the ultraviolence.
They're about to get lost in the Matrix.
Oh my god.
Drink
I
the
think
blue
I think
milk.
time and ego is, as often is, the biggest enemy to this production.
Yarp.
Fantastic. Man, I don't know what we're going to possibly talk about, but what didn't work?
Let's just watch the movie.
Twice was enough. Cast.
Whew.
James Corden
and Rebel Wilson.
Yeah, just frankly, it.
Like I feel bad because I feel like Rebel Wilson in particular is one of those actresses who gets like shit on by the like right-wing chuds on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know a lot of her stuff. So part of me wants to like her just so I disagree with those.
Right, no,
people.
I feel that, yeah.
But also she was fucking terrible in this.
Because when I was talking to Belinda about it, I'm like, who the fuck is Rebel Wilson? I hated her. And she's like, why? I'm like, I watched the movie. And she gave me like some background on who Rebel Wilson is as a person. I'm like, that's fine and all. Like, I didn't really know her before this, but so I'm living in a I was living in a Rebel Wilson vacuum, and I loved it. And now I'm not. And what I experienced immediately stepping out of the vacuum was her and Cats. So
yeah.
Politically, I have no connection to her. She just
it's
was
a
awful.
really bad introduction to Rebel Wilson.
She's a younger Melissa McCarthy. They're both in that same exact lane.
That's kind of what Belinda said.
Yeah, it's not a bad comparison, honestly. Especially considering the way that they both have been cast in comedies over the past decade or so. They do play similar roles. They fill similar niches.
Maybe I'm projecting onto Rebel Wilson, but she very much feels like a lazy actor.
Like, I think this performance in particular, all of her improv, and It really does come across as lazy.
Lazy and needy.
I have a feeling that it was like for that one, I had an impression that it was a directorial thing of like, just do like this thing's happening, say some one-liners, do comedy.
I
go.
would not be,
and then like
dance monkey.
Yeah, like
if
at that point,
seen her shtick at the Oscars, I'm like, oh, this is the same shtick as you had in the film.
Yeah.
Which I hated then, and I hate even more now.
I hate, I don't know, because I've seen her in other things and enjoyed her.
What else is she in?
Pitch Perfect, alongside.
I didn't see that.
I know you didn't see that. No, but
not enough guns.
She's in a metric ton of stuff.
She's in a lot of stuff. Yeah, just Pitch Perfect is always just what jumps to mind for me.
There's something where she plays a stewardess that she was really good in, but I can't remember what it was.
Brutal.
I'm willing to give her another shot, but from my only exposure to Rebel Wilson, I cannot stand her.
I think the other thing that happened was like, so they were like, hey, do one-liners, go. And they keep letting her into like other scenes to do one-liners and horrible moments. And then the shot lingers after said one-liner for like a full second. It just makes everything worse every time it happens.
That's the editor's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
very weird.
It highlights like, oh, this moment is clanging and continues to clang.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes everything she does look even worse.
It does very much feel like the movie was edited for laughter and applause breaks.
but
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, but there were none to be had. Oh God!
All right, well, Jags.
Well, one other note I want to point out here, and I only know this because of the Lindsay Ellis "Why Is Cats" video that I shared with you all.
Yes,
didn't watch it.
So in talking about Jenny Anydots, I'm talking about a lot of the musical pieces. Like a lot of it's not supposed to be just sung by that one cat. Like it's supposed to be the entire. Like there, like other cats are coming in and singing about these characters.
A lot of it's
the whole colony
Munkustrap singing most of the song. I think Skimbleshanks Munkustraps sings most of that as well, right?
But there's input from these other cats, like kind of helping to highlight like what's special about this specific cat they're singing about. And in the Jenny Anydots number, there's like the little jazzier parts in the interstitials are a 3-part harmony.
It's this really awesome, like Andrew Sisters tight, like when da 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 da, like flashback, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it works really well as a 3-part harmony. But then you hear Rebel Wilson doing it, just her. Like there's nobody else,
untrained singer.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
And the fact that she eats her performers goes totally against the lyrics of what the character is.
Beyond being just nightmarish.
Right. And it's less nightmarish when it's CGI faces on cockroaches and it's garbage bags put on to be cockroaches.
Yeah.
Like the whole garbage... Obviously, they took the garbage theme out and made it just garbage.
All right, well, y'all wanted to stand up for Rebel Wilson. What do you got to say about James Corden?
Fuck him.
Apparently the guy's an asshole, and that's the only thing I ever know about him.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, like behind the scenes, he's a giant dick to his staff, to his crew, like just a woefully unpleasant person to be around and work for.
I think he so I don't have as much like want to like James Corden as I do for Rebel Wilson, but I think he suffers from the exact same stuff of like the direction is, hey, do some one-liners and let's linger on you for way too fucking long while you do it.
He went from obscure to name with an update of Shakespeare's A Servant of Two Masters called, was it Two Masters, One Governor? Something like that in Britain. It was all the exact same shtick that he does in Cats. And I have seen him do other stuff where it's not relying on that exact same friggin' shtick every time. So again, they went, well, let's throw out Buster Jones. It's a really fun cat who's proper out the window so we can smack James Corden's in the balls. They stick out the most as worse because they are not playing characters from the show.
Yeah, they totally don't fit.
No.
Now, whether that's their fault or the director's fault or the producer's fault or the key grip's fault, who knows?
Oh, you know the scripts. Any other cast that we want to talk about as being... I mean, we talked a little bit in the first part about Victoria and how expanding her part doesn't really work, but like I don't think that was the actor's fault.
No. I feel like there's someone that sucked, but I just can't remember because my mind has blocked them out.
How do we feel about Idris Elba's?
I was just going to ask that
like,
same question.
I think I'm so told to like his performance that when he sucks, I'm like, he was still good.
That's the thing. Is like, because I
like,
love Idris Elba so much. Like everything I've ever seen him in, I've really enjoyed him in, and just it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch this performance.
I think there are a couple of moments, especially early on, when he's not being so goofy, but then they like goof him up.
McCavity!
Yeah, like
the fuck was that?
so that like after he goofs a couple of times, like I cannot take him seriously anymore. I don't know if that's a casting problem because before those moments happen, Idris Elba as Scary Magic Cat fucking works.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a casting issue. I think it's either performance or direction or both. Like,
yeah, I agree. I think it's very much the direction on him. I also get the feeling that he wasn't there for most. Like, it feels very much like he was CGI'd into every scene except the final one, where he gets inarguably the worst fuck over by the CGI ever. When he takes off the hat and the coat, and it's the worst nightmare.
Naked
CGI
Idris Elba.
Yes,
naked
that
shiny.
should be the thing of my dreams. And no,
Why doesn't it work? Because I felt the same way. I'm like, why am I so disgusted by
proportions are off. The proportions, like as big as he is as a human male, they didn't apply those to him beginning the cat. So he's got
a
funky ears that don't match what the rest of his body is, and it's
like broad shoulders, itty bitty waist.
Well, it's that, but it's also like itty bitty ears.
Yeah,
and
his
off
ears
to
are
one
so
side.
tiny.
Yeah,
Okay,
they don't work with what he's just supposed to be a tabby cat, and
I think the shininess of the fur also, it doesn't look like, so like if it were like glistening skin, that would be one thing.
It's
and if
like,
it were matte fur, that would be another.
It's
But
like
this,
the midpoint between them.
The satin fur just looks a little frightening in a bad way.
and it I almost wonder if their direction was, we'll make him look pathetic so we feel bad for him in that moment.
it didn't work.
It super didn't work. No,
But it's poor Idris.
Okay, so we don't think it was his fault.
I don't think it was Idris's fault, but it was. Oh God, choices were made.
Themes. I have themes weren't bad. They just were executed poorly and muddled.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you were saying this is a concept show, so it doesn't really have much plot. It's all theme.
But theme is cat.
But the theme is cat.
It's
like that's where we're
cats.
at.
And that literally, if Cats had opened 3 years earlier or a decade later, it would be forgotten. It would have never been a hit or anything. It just hit at the right time when people did enough cocaine and the wealth was growing that it wasn't about the show. It was about the power position of having seen the show. This was the first show where for years you couldn't get tickets. This was the very first mega musical.
It was Hamilton.
Yes. Didn't matter if the show was any good. It was the show to see.
I see.
You'll note things like normally Broadway shows, every poster has like this quote from the New York Times. It was the fucking eyes. There were no critical quotes on the poster for Cats.
I was going to ask you what the critical response was for Cats at the time of the stage show. At the time
it was a
released.
very mixed reception.
Okay.
There were very few people that outright loved it. The choreography got a lot of praise. The score got a decent amount of praise. It won Tonys because, well, what else were we going to do?
Right. You have what you have.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a sweep of the Tonys or anything like that. And it's sort of one of those shows like Bye Bye Birdie, where at the time it was a huge hit, it was a huge deal, but now the theater community kind of looks back at it and going, were we really that proud of that?
Gotcha. What are shows where it's a very loose framing device just to put a bunch of songs in?
Contact, Fosse.
What's the term for it?
Those are usually reviews.
Okay.
Or jukebox musicals.
Okay.
Like Mamma Mia is, well, here's
That's
a
the
very
one I
weak
was thinking
story,
of,
but let's throw all the hits of ABBA in. Jersey Boys is at least a biography where we threw the songs in.
You would
and
not say
that's-
Cats is one of those.
No, because it's not a pre-existing. Well, it's not a mostly pre-existing score.
Okay.
Sorry, Andrew recycled a bit. But
Gotcha.
So like theme that didn't work is Cats.
They did accomplish Cats.
Right, but it did like as a theme for a piece of media, Cats is not a theme that I think is a good theme to leave and be done with.
Well, and I think the authors put certain themes in it, but were too cracked out of their skulls or too stupid to realize they were there to expand on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea of rebirth is a great thing to build around.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And there are moments when you're like, you understand why Grisabella would want it. But other parts of it, you're like, okay, so Skimbleshanks has a great life. Why would he ever want...
Right.
You know, if you dig in the story, there was an accident caused by him. That's why he would want to be reborn, so we could go back and redo the accident. Like,
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
That's really
makes
good.
way more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
but they're not, you know, same thing with Jenny Anydots.
Wait, is that in the lyrics or is that in the
It's
poem?
in the lyrics. There's a little... You gotta dig. Gotta dig a little deeper.
I hate it.
And that's the thing. The creators could have and come up with something so much more. You know, the sense of community, addressing the fact that, like every society, the cats are little bitches to one person.
Yeah.
You know, and it's there, and Grisabella gets the best of the themes coming through.
Yeah.
But it's still, you could really bring that out.
In the fix, I loosely address rebirth, and it's present. It's almost like it should be the backbone of the story.
Well, and there's abandonment.
And abandonment.
Yeah.
You know, and how many of these cats are out? How many of these cats don't have masters? And then what about,
Yeah.
you know, Skimbleshanks is a work cat? Like,
Yeah. Am I remembering this correctly? Does Mistopheles have a collar?
I honestly don't remember. He doesn't in the stage show.
Okay.
But
feel like
he
he
would
had a
have to have a
red
master because they talk about his family always saying, "Oh, where is that cat?" And he's up on the roof.
yeah, that's right.
But maybe he has bad owners, and that's why he doesn't have a collar.
Story. What didn't work?
I am wondering. So I haven't seen the stage show. I feel like it's not a review, but like this, like song about cat, like this one and done episodic thing for a movie. I think that didn't work because it didn't present a story in the format of like sitting down and looking at your TV.
I have songs loosely attached to a weak frame.
Just like, for example, books 4 through 6 in the Dune series should never ever be attempted to be filmed. There are, because to properly change something from one media to the other, you have to make changes. Some of the very worst movies are word for word adaptations of a novel or a play. Whereas other times, you know, you make the changes going to the screen and they're amazing.
So one of the things that gave me a lot of trouble with fixing this is this story should not be a movie. When you're coming up with a story, and we're all writers, you have to decide what is the best way to present this story. And Cats, as a stage show, is about as good as it's going to get with the story you have. As a film, it does not work at all. Like, that story should not be filmed as a traditional narrative.
I think you would have needed a more concerted attempt to mimic this, maybe not mimic, but like build off of what's presented in the stagecraft of it and translate that into film. And that's a fucking feat. Like, that's not an easy transition to make. And it's like they tried to eschew it more than address it.
I'm trying to remember the Von Trier film with Nicole Kidman that takes place on a stage.
Oh, Kill Bill.
No, Dogville.
Thank you, Dogville. Yeah. Which, like,
Fuck Von Trier.
fuck Von Trier. I do like that film. But it's minimalist stage, right? It's like all strike tape. Am I thinking of the right thing? Whatever the tape that goes on the theater floor.
Oh yeah, Spike.
Spike.
Spike
Yes,
tape. Oh,
Spike
okay.
tape.
I have heard of this. Yeah.
It's a rough watch, but I enjoyed it. Well, enjoy is not the right word, but like
You experienced it.
yes. I think that there is a space for making a movie look more like shooting it more as a stage show, like having elements of the stage in a traditional film. I think to take what the stage show is and shoot it more cinematically isn't gonna work. One, it's one location. It's still a very wireframe with songs attached to it.
Yeah.
So like I would like to bring elements of like costume and lighting and set from the stage show to the film, but as far as the narrative goes, it's still thin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm like, this is one of those things where I don't know if you could like make a fuller plot without the whole thing falling apart anyway.
We'll get to that in a minute as far as like the fix goes, but what I have so far is not a fix. In order to fix this, you would have to break all the parts apart and start from scratch.
Make a completely different
basically
movie.
make a completely different movie.
But the thing is, so Cats the stage show is you need like 3 good runs of cocaine because it's 2 hours and 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
The taped movie that was released on PBS is only 2 hours.
I think so, yeah.
And then this travesty is like 145. In shrinking it, they made the mistake of cutting all the what's referred as recitative in the opera world, but it's sung dialogue between. By cutting the recit, which is where all the different cats come in, as you had mentioned, like different people singing different songs, there are at least transitions from number to number in the stage show.
That would make way more sense.
And the movie doesn't have any of them.
Yeah.
Well, like 90% of mark.
I think you had brought that up when we were doing the original watch too. Yeah, there's that. There are those bits of connective tissue there that are just completely lost in this version.
Yeah, like how do we get from Jenny Anydots to Buster Jones? Like how do we get from A to B instead of going from A to Z with skipping everything? We're like Amazon.
It is very jarring, especially. I think that's why specifically I don't like the Skimbleshanks number, because it's like
it is very jarring.
We just went from Gus being kidnapped to happy,
and that whole kidnapping thing, just the way they address it.
You're
right. They never acknowledge that somebody's gone.
I do fix that. That was an easy fix.
Cut it completely.
Yep. There is no McCavity. All right. Last thing, and then we'll go on a break. What didn't work as far as the production goes?
Tom Hooper.
I just have the CGI. It's like, not the shit on them because they didn't have a chance, but like the CGI did not work for this film.
I think the proper time and resources were not dedicated to allow the CGI to work. Like it could have, but when you're forcing those people into those crunch scenarios and you're like actively talking shit on them through the process, is like, what did you expect to happen?
And that's really the only thing I can comment on as far as production goes, because like the costumes were CGI. The sets were CGI. The lighting was probably half and half.
Actually, a bunch of glow sticks in a fishbowl.
They took my method. So the editing could have been better.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to throw the editors and even like the way that they chose to frame a lot of the dance numbers pulled a lot of the power of whatever dances were happening.
Whoever decided to have tailography needs shot. I get, as a cat owner, that cats communicate with their tails.
Yeah.
It's synchronized tail dancing when it is like it's the original Raimi Spider-Man. There's no weight to it problem.
Right? Yeah.
It just hairography is one thing, not tailography.
It was a decision that was made. Yes. Well, oh golly. With all that in mind, Vince, do you feel like it earned its accolades?
As in the Razzie?
Yeah. The 9 Razzies.
Yes.
Fantastic. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to fix it. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
I don't believe you.
We're going to do it.
And cut the ads. Welcome back to DeRazzled. If you enjoyed Cats, I'm sorry. But we're going to make it even better. And here's how.
What a fucking intro.
Nailed it. Landed perfect landing.
We're, to the surprise of no one, we're recording both these parts on the same day, and I'm very tired.
I'm starting to see shit.
What's in that
I'm not
straw?
actually. Yeah.
How expired is that beer?
It's actually just the leftover effects of seeing cats twice.
Yeah.
He's been seeing
Stays with
shit
you.
for days.
CPTSD.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah. Not complex.
Cats.
So I'm recasting
Christ.
Jenny Anydots to the surprise of no one.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Joe, I asked you for suggestion.
Oh, are you going with my suggestion?
I did. Originally, I was thinking the actress who was in Booksmart.
Okay.
But after you recommended I check out Rachel Bloom, I watched her music video on Ray Bradbury.
Fucking Ray Bradbury, yeah.
Yeah.
Or fuck me, Ray Bradbury, rather.
Fuck me, Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
Please isolate that clip. She was fantastic and funny and could sing and dance. And,
She's brilliant. I love her.
she may not have the star power that this Rebel Wilson broad has, but
Your 1960s is showing again.
oh, sorry, just tuck that back into my pants.
Oh, no.
Also, Buster Jones. James Corden's got to go.
I'm shocked.
What? I know.
Shocked.
Obviously, you took all of our opinions into account before you made this decision. Yeah.
3 days ago. Yeah. The person I went with, it's so obvious that I feel like the offer was made and rejected.
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi.
My face sake.
Your parents
I feel like
specifically chose his face.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be like on a dating profile. Like what you're looking for, height, blah 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 blah, face sake.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah, mine's the boosh.
So I went with Nathan Lane.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, why would you not at least offer to him? Well, I'm looking at you, Rob. Like you know something that happened.
Rob, why didn't you offer
Why
this
didn't
to
you
Nathan
offer
Lane?
this to Nathan Lane? Why?
Because Nathan Lane on film does not tend to work.
Ooh.
I disagree. I've seen Mousetrap.
Talking about musicals. Did you see the producers?
I saw the original one.
The film of the Broadway show, just he's doing a stage performance on film and it doesn't work.
That's kind of the entire cast and crew, though, too, because the director,
Oh, yeah.
the director,
Stroman
of,
didn't know what the fuck she was doing.
Yeah, because the director of the film is the director of the stage show, if I'm not mistaken.
And the whole thing is filmed as a stage show on New York's real streets. It does not work.
Yeah,
you
it's
explain
a very
that?
faithful adaptation, which does not serve the film well.
As we've learned, faith is a waste of time when it comes to film.
We're getting real loopy.
I can't wait to hear what you just did in the recording when I'm editing later.
Do you think Nathan Lane's, I'm going to call it heightened reality, would work for Cats?
Not if we're doing Bustafer as he's meant to be.
Oh, see, I don't know Bustafer as he's meant to be.
He's much more... Honestly, fan casting, I would have thought Patrick Stewart.
Really?
Whoa! So this is a completely different Bustafer.
Because Bustafer is very prim and proper, and like the Patrick Stewart you see in those commercials with Mark Hamill is Bustafer Jones. Like it's much closer than what we got from Horden.
So we're going to I actually really like that because we are fucking reuniting Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking too.
Just as many projects with both of them in.
I thought you were going to say making it a different character because his character right now is too close to Jenny Anydots, but no, you're right. I watched the stage show. It just it didn't stick.
He's just very prim and proper. And he's like, oh, if I'm fat, so what? I always wash my hands and I use a napkin and I polish the silver. And
Which I like that more because it varies from the previous shtick we just saw.
So his character in the stage show, the thing that makes him special is how posh he is.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's not what I got at all. from
No,
this, yeah.
considering like the degree to which he is just rifling through the trash and jamming whatever he can find into his gob.
And
just-
he's not that at all. Like he does the nibble with the pinky up kind of thing. The key is he's the St. James's Street cat.
yeah.
That's like saying he lives in Central Park West.
I'm
He lives in the Squirrel Hill of.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I needed that.
He's in one of the Victorian houses that hasn't been split into apartments.
There it is.
Oh, see, thank you. That makes way more sense.
Squirrel Hill. God damn it.
Damn it.
We're from Pittsburgh.
And I am super cultured. So if we were going to go the same direction as James Corden, I would go with Nathan Lane, but with the character as originally presented in the stage show, Patrick Stewart, which is what we're now going to do in this fix.
Sorry, Nathan.
Sorry, Nathan. Love you. But
I mean, Nathan Lane can do a better James Corden than James Corden can. But
That I buy 100%.
but just what you're describing, that musical number fits better in.
Oh, cool. Just thinking about it makes me happy. This is
We're gonna move on to crew, but before I list them off, so the way that I want to take this movie isn't gonna work, but here's what we're gonna do anyway.
"Quote unquote fix."
I was watching this YouTube video about somebody like talking about their experience with cats. Specifically, this is the person that like rewatched the Rum Tum Tugger bit until it was like erased.
Oh yeah.
Until all of the sounds and sights just disintegrated into their component parts?
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, she was talking about it as though this was a world that she got to step into as a child, which I could see that. And then having that be all CGI and losing that ability to step into the world would suck. So I compared it to the movies that like I grew up with as a kid that I'm like, this is a world I want to step into. Like the original Star Wars trilogy, anything by Tim Burton, any of the movies by, and this is the one I'm picking for this adaptation, is any of the Terry Gilliam films.
Oh, okay.
His sets are always amazing. They're excluding some of his newer movies because he couldn't get any funding. They're all real, tangible sets, and
they're still goofy as shit.
They're goofy as shit, and they're cluttered, and I love it. So I wanted to take something as far as like the trash dump, where you have all this clutter and crap, but make it fun. So I stole Terry Gilliam's set designer, Norman Gerwood, who did Brazil. I was thinking Fisher King, but nobody knows Fisher King, so that's fine. We'll go with Brazil. He also did Princess Bride, which is another world that like you feel like you can step into and like be a part of.
Oh, absolutely.
The next is, so like, I feel a little bad doing this because I wrote the fix before I wrote the movie production part, right?
Okay.
So like I was still very much like didn't understand what had happened with the video effects people.
Okay.
So my solution was, as it usually is, ditch the visuals effects. So you have real costumes.
I still agree with that, even though it wasn't the VFX people's fault. They were given no time. That was one of the things I was thinking about while watching this was like costumes would be more fun. Even without the Uncanny Valley, I think there's just only so much you can do by like making humans fur covered.
Like they said, Tom Hooper was like, I want people to think these are cats. Like that is the goal of the visual effects, which you can't do. And if you could do it, I still wouldn't want it.
I think even well done, it will fall into the Uncanny Valley because the closer you get, you're still not shooting for human. You're shooting just shy of it. You're going to land there all the time. That's my opinion.
Much rather see people in costumes, like, and this is the example I'm going to give because this is the person I'm stealing. Her name is Rita Ryak, I'm going to say.
How do you spell it?
Ryak. She's a costume designer for The Grinch.
I thought you were going to say that.
Really?
That's no, because as you were going through that, my brain suddenly started thinking like, well, what if they did like a prosthetic makeup thing where they have more of a cat-like mouth?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about that fucking Grinch movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate that movie, but
it's a favorite in my family. My aunt goes out of her way to quote it all the time.
Your aunt sucks.
It's not the biggest abomination to the name of Dr. Seuss.
no.
Cat in the Hat, right?
Although she also did the Cat in the Hat.
No, that's right.
Which like makes sense. Like very similar.
Yeah, of course.
Impression design
bring
was
it
not
around.
the problem with that movie. Mike Myers was.
Ooh.
And I don't know that they need to go full prosthetic. I would like to see like a mock-up of it, but somewhere in between, like I look at the Grinch, and I'm like, that is Jim Carrey in a costume.
Oh yeah. But it conveys the character so well too.
Yeah. She also did Casino and the Hairspray remake.
You put the Grinch in Casino?
Yeah,
While he was selling hairspray.
She also, and I don't know this at all, but just because she was nominated for a Tony, I figure I should say she was nominated for a Tony for Casa Valentina. I don't know. Anyway,
It was a flop, but yeah.
well, she was still nominated.
Yes.
I'll take it.
And we're getting rid of Tom Hooper and replacing
Yes.
him with Alan Parker, who
Alan
did
Parker?
Evita and Fame, which are two movies that
And Bugsy Malone, right?
I think he did Bugsy Malone. He did The Wall, Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh hell yeah.
And
It can still be a fever dream.
Yeah.
oh, it will be. And
He's shown he can do Fever Dream well.
if you really want to like have an awkward movie night with your family, watch Angel Heart.
But he also proved with Evita that he can pull emotion out of mediocre lyrics that have Andrew Lloyd Webber music.
Well, there we go. So he's got all the prerequisites we need to make this not terrible.
He has said no to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber in the past, so.
Yeah, this guy's
My
great.
hero.
He's
Does
one of
this
those-
mean we have to wait for Weber to die?
Oh,
And
yes.
be dead for 70 years.
Oh, there's
okay.
that.
And then okay, so like that's the crew that's been gathered, the cast that's been gathered. As far as like production goes,
You're not recasting Taylor Swift?
oh, we didn't get through the rules because I forgot.
So yeah, typically we only recast two roles.
Never mind. Okay.
Yeah. So really quick, just to go through our general rules, we have to keep, and this is what, again, fuck me, we have to keep the general outline plot of the thing we're fixing.
Which I mean, given there's the stage show backing there, so like it's not that hard to do. But
Right. But like in order to truly fix this, I would have to decimate it and start from ground
You'd
up.
have to break the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Yes. It would be Dogs the musical.
to be fair, we have broken the rules in the past. a little bit
We've
here and
bent
there.
them. And then the other rule is that like we can't have anything in our fix that the production would have had at the time of its making. But since this movie's so new, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, so this is the only time we've done a movie that has been this recent. So,
I mean,
my-
if anything, we are backtracking historically.
We are, yeah.
yeah,
So we did not recast Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I wanted to take care
Take
of
the
the two
two
biggest
worst,
problems.
yes.
Yeah.
despite the teasing of having done that we gave in the last episode, surprise,
Yeah. Nope. She's here. We tried, but she just wouldn't
just
leave.
wouldn't leave.
If-
She's still here.
We here's the thing we would change about Taylor Swift. We would have her on set for longer and give her new dance moves to learn.
But that breaks the rule of something the production couldn't have.
They couldn't have her for more than a week because she was touring, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
This game sucks.
And that's the thing. If they had had longer with Taylor and had kept the characters written, I don't have a problem with her in the role.
Sure. Same. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No CGI set or costume. Corrective is fine.
Mm-hmm.
The cockroaches and mice, stop motion.
Ooh,
Your Tim Burton is showing.
My Tim Burton is showing.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
it totally embraces the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel awful not being able to think, but like whatever the studio is, specifically who did Coraline is who I'd like to get. I think it's Henry Selnick.
Yes.
Is the director, but I don't remember the studios. McCavity does not CGI poof in and out. Instead, he kind of like the Cheshire Cat from Disney's Alice in Wonderland, the animated one. You see his eyes disappear and reappear in shadows.
Oh, and then you have the eye motif from the poster that you're kind of playing with there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then all the cats can react to it instead of ignoring the cavity.
Yes.
I never thought about how weird that is, but that's super fucking weird.
And then for the perverts,
So all of us.
Because we haven't done enough for the perverts already.
You're right.
you know how in like a video game, sometimes they allow you to have like the gore on and off? We have the butthole toggle button.
Oh, there's
your
a,
own butthole.
on there's
the
a
DVD.
right. Yeah.
Choose your
Yeah.
own butthole.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So that's showing up in the description for this ep then, right?
Oh God. So anything we want to add as far as like production, cast, anything like that, before we get into the story?
Before we tackle that, in terms of Coraline, were you talking about is it Focus Features, Leica Entertainment, or Pandemonium?
Leica.
Leica. Okay. That's the company that you're referring to then.
Yes, them. They wouldn't do it.
Why
with
am I
them.
answering your question?
I had originally thought production-wise, after we watched it, based on the Amblin stuff, I had originally thought that like maybe like really high quality animation would have been neat. But I think in like keeping as much of the spirit of the stage show as you can, like grand costumes is like absolutely the way to go. And it's super weird that they did basically nothing with it in this production.
Yeah.
There's always been this talk of Cats as an animated feature, and honestly, I think it would be worse than what we got.
Really?
Because it is a story told through dance. The dance is the only thing that has consistently made it stick out.
I talked about rotoscope at the time, but even then I think it would like take away so much.
Yeah, you would lose the...
You could have some really cool animated dance, but it wouldn't be the same.
Right.
Now I'm a little bit stuck on the idea of Cats meets a Scanner Darkly.
Speaking of Fever Dream.
Speaking of Fever Dream.
Oh my God.
What's Robert Downey Jr. doing right now?
Fever Dream.
Just being rich.
Well, right. Right.
The one of the things I have to frequently do for this show is separate what I would like to do versus like what would fix it. So like what I would do is I would do an animation as well.
But I still think
I
like
agree
your point,
with
costumes
Rob.
and real dances.
I think that is a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I would really like to see an animated version of this, it's a valid point.
I would ignore that, agree with it, and then ignore it, and get probably an anime studio to work on it.
Trigger.
I don't know my anime studios well enough, but
I just think it'd be really funny for the people who did Fooly Cooly to do this.
Oh, those people. Oh my God. Something that like shows the exaggerated movements of the human body. I just watched this one called Megalobox, where it's like it's about boxing, which like I couldn't give a fuck about normally, but like the way that they animate the human body and the movement is fantastic. So like,
but it's not for dancers.
What?
Dancers can watch it if they want.
I'd like to apologize to all the dancers out there.
Yeah.
I'm deeply sorry for the things that I've said.
Let's do the story. All right, here we go. We fade in on Soho. Trash piles up on the street corners. Sewage stagnates in alleyways. In the distance, we hear a fight that ends poorly. We crane down to a side street. The sounds of a desperate city interrupted by the purr of a 1974 Panther DeVille saloon. The car idles. Its door opens only wide enough for its owner to toss a sack. The car pulls away, but before it turns, disappearing forever, a pearly white cat emerges from the sack, giving chase. She calls after the car, "Mama, Mama, wait!" The only response is the cough of exhaust as the car skids away. The cat holds tightly to its ruby red collar for comfort. Stitched along the band is the name Victoria. The sounds that first lured us here amplify. Terrified and confused, Victoria mouths the word "Mama," though nothing comes out. A breeze pushes steam from a sewer grate through Victoria, chilling her. But on the wind we hear the words, barely louder than a whisper, "Jellicle cats come out." This is the voice of Munkustrap. Startled by the sound, Victoria spins to see. There it is again, this time spoken by Mr. Mistopheles. When said a final time, it has the gravelly voice of Macavity. She spins, pleading to be left alone. So that's our opening.
That is way more gut wrenching and really helps emphasize like the trauma that this cat's coming into this setting in.
Way darker than original Cats, for sure.
Well, that was something that I thought was missing from the musical is the stakes. Like, there's I'm not worried about any of these characters. Like, yes, Macavity is scary, but like, oh, he's going to take you and put you on a boat? with Carl Panzram. Well, that would be scary.
Being on a boat with Carl Panzram would be horrifying. Yes.
Okay, so this is like running gag that 4 of us understand. Carl Panzram was a serial killer.
Again, yeah, that's fair to say. Again, if you didn't listen to episode 1 for some reason.
Not that we explain it there either. But
That's fair.
Carl Panzram was a sometimes dock worker, sometimes boat dude. Very gruff,
A violent person.
violent
I would say.
human being. He is technically a serial killer in that he killed more than 3 people, but he didn't. It was more like he killed because of the life he was living rather than searching for people to kill.
Yeah. Listen to the last podcast on the left series about him.
It's fascinating. And for whatever reason, I think it's hilarious to think of him as a cat on a barge.
It's deeply hilarious to think of him as a cat on a barge.
Carl Panzram, the barge cat.
I want to watch that.
Oh, weird. That's actually T.S. Eliot wrote that. Hold on. Wait.
I shall continue. We pull back, watching the cat as though stalking her from the rooftops. She's alone in the dark. Then, as the overture trickles in, a warm light illuminates the street. Cutting to Victoria's eyes, we see the reflection of the Jellicle moon, crescent-shaped, reminiscent of the cat's logo. It takes her breath away. We cut just behind Victoria, rendered small below the massive yellow-orange moon in the sky, centered above an equally massive junk heap, the reflection of the moon catching on bits of metal. With a mixture of desperation and hope, Victoria says that she should be able to see her mama from atop the heap. Victoria is passed by other cats going in the same direction. The overture begins to swell as Victoria makes her way up the side of the garbage mound. Seeing an opening, she pokes her head through. The song gives way, beginning in earnest. The mound is shaped like an arena, empty at its center. Occupying the space is Munkustrap. As he sings, he is joined by the cats of London, each cat of importance getting a slice of screen time. Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry push past Mistopheles, who stumbles, dropping his hat. When he crouches to retrieve it, he sees Victoria entering the heap below. In another clip, we see Grisabella making her way up to the highest peak of the mound, where no one can see her. Her eyesight is poor. She feels around for a place to sit. So, in the stage show, Grisabella looks rough.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
In the movie, she looks fine.
Just snotty.
Just snotty.
Snotty and sad.
She needs a tissue and some therapy.
So much therapy. This is completely unrelated and not a useful observation in any way, shape, or form, but for some reason the phrase Jellicle moon evokes the idea of just like a fruit gummy of a moon hanging in the sky.
It's just delicious.
It's I don't know.
Is it like a gusher?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm like this.
I think we're all a little hungry.
For side reference, for the revival, most recent ones of Cats, Grisabella's actually wearing a bit of a corset under the ratty coat to hint at what her backstory is.
Okay.
So she was a sex worker and that didn't go well?
She was Satine from Moulin Rouge.
Well, that means nothing to me.
She close to a sex worker. She had a sugar daddy, was a performer on the stage, maybe took some extra gentleman collars.
So you're telling me that my observation that Cats is part of the Moulin Rouge cinematic universe is not incorrect?
God
Not horribly off, no.
damn it.
Janet.
Thank you.
But I wanted Grisabella to look like she was on her last leg.
Literally.
Literally. She has one leg. She's a one-legged cat.
Oh, no. The saddest thing.
At this point, my question is, Victoria, she hears Jellicle cats come out on the wind. Has she noticed them, or is that just sort of like a background thing? Or is she frightened of them? What is her reaction to this? Because it seems like she's way more concerned about the moon than she is like impending cats.
So the way I want to gusher, I'd be concerned too.
Fuck off, Joe.
The way I imagine it being framed, as far as it being shot, is you ever see the cover of like Castlevania 4 where it's like Simon Belmont real tiny at the bottom, and then there's like the gate, and then there's a mountain leading up to the castle?
Yeah.
Well, Victoria is the Simon.
Oh, so they're not like nearby moving toward. They're not like coming closer to her, and she can't see them. She sees exactly where they are.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes so much more sense. Perfect.
The moon is almost calling to them to go to the arena underneath.
And so she's like, oh, if I go up there with them, maybe that'll give me an advantage.
I'm genuinely impressed you worked a Castlevania reference into this.
I'm so pleased with myself.
I know you are.
But once she gets there and she sees, because she's not been exposed to other cats. She's been a house cat since she was a kitten, so this is all new and exciting. She's scared, but she's also like, what is this cool shit?
Yeah. Andrew Lloyd Webber Cat's deep lore.
Right. With the key players assembled, we watched the song Prologue, Jellicle Song for Jellicle Cats. It is presented as it is in the film. Victoria makes her way to the arena floor where the action plays out. She's looking for her mother, yes, but she's also dumbstruck by the spectacle. When she finally finds herself standing before Munkustrap, the song ends, the clouder of cats suddenly aware of the intruder's presence. They scatter, disappearing into the many pockets and tunnels of the trash heap. Victoria gives chase, saying she's just looking for someone. Victoria makes her way through to the other side of the heap, only to discover she's entered a graveyard. Dark and empty, Victoria calls out for the Jellicles. A pair of glowing yellow eyes answers. Though unseen, this is McCavity. He toys with her, saying she's not a Jellicle, and therefore no one will notice if she goes missing. But he says she's lucky, as tonight he's in a hurry to go to the ball. So instead of her life, he'll only take her tail. We get a partial glimpse of McCavity's face, his ear tattered, his face marred from fights barely won. He raises a clawed mitt, Victoria screams. But before the paw falls, there is a poof and a spark, and from above we hear Mistopheles graciously stumble to Victoria's aid. This delays McCavity more than it stops him. But when he sees that he's surrounded by the rest of the Jellicles, here to back Mistopheles, he slips back into the shadows. So, in the film, we get a little bit of the cats feeling out who Victoria is. It doesn't quite land perfectly for me.
Yeah.
And also, as pointed out in our summary last episode, why the fuck does McCavity care about Victoria? So he's a bit more of a psycho in this.
Yay, psycho.
Yeah. I wouldn't. So like, I generally think
it also makes him actually menacing in a way that he's not in the movie adaptation.
Right.
Yeah. In the stage show, is he like? I know that there's not like any real plot for him to actually be the villain, but is he?
He's the closest thing it has to a villain.
But is he like?
Is he menacing?
Does it land at all? Is there any menace to McCavity?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because there's dun 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 dun,
but it's all like
a
music cues.
repeated motif, like all those transitions we talked about them cutting.
Yeah.
A bunch of them are McCavity stuff, and it's always like they're constantly like, "Where's McCavity?" Like they see him where he isn't.
He also doesn't look stupid.
Yeah.
He got big old hair.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, he does actually take over for old dude Maroni at one point, and then there's a big fight scene.
Something I forgot to touch on a little bit regarding T.S. Eliot. He was a massive Sherlock Holmes fan, and he's literally channeling Moriarty into McCavity. That's the Napoleon of crime thing is directly ripped from.
Is Moriarty described as the Napoleon of crime?
I think at some point.
Holmes. I've never read.
But
They
I know.
gasp.
I know.
So it's also in McCavity as criminal cat is in the T.S. Eliot poems.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like the actual T.S. Eliot poem for him, like talks about how like what a criminal mastermind he is, and talks about him like toppling governments and shit to potentially. Like, it escalates really hard. It's bonkers.
Well, and the stage show does the thing where you're over an hour into the show before you ever see him. But everybody's been taught. So you do that anticipation, you know, it's...
Yeah.
And you made sure to make him invisible still at the beginning.
You're only seeing his eyes and like a paw.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a lot. Like the repeating line throughout the original poem is, "But McCavity's not there."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way better.
Free of immediate danger, the Jellicles hesitantly approach Victoria, circling her, smelling her. Smooth Rumpelteazer removes Victoria's collar. She only realizes it's gone when Mungo Jerry starts a game of keep away. Victoria pleads for its return, the collar being her only connection to her previous life. Munkustrap plucks the collar from Mungo Jerry's paw in order to read the name stitched into it. This cues the naming of the cats, recited by the Jellicles. Victoria is given her collar, which she immediately slips back on. This slides into the ballet number, Invitation to the Jellicle Ball, the subtext of which is that Munkustrap is feeling out whether she's safe to have along. Jealous, Mephistopheles interrupts, shooting a shot, and while Victoria is amused by the cat's antics, she doesn't have time to respond. The Jellicles are on their way to pick up Bustopher Jones, who's that, like, one asshole's never on time. On the way, Munkustrap explains what they're doing and why. One will be picked by old Deuteronomy and given a chance at a better life. Bustopher Jones's song, Bustopher Jones, I originally had it written as it pretty much remains the same, but since we've recast it with Sir Patrick Stewart, I don't know. I mean, it's still the same song. It's just not acted like a buffoon.
Yes.
Yes.
You laugh at Bustopher because you like him, not because he's an idiot twat.
This actually gets to something that I've liked about the treatment so far, which is there is a why to the things that are happening.
Yes.
Including why we sing about the names, why we're explaining this shit to Victoria, who nobody knows from anything. So with Bustopher, my question is, speaking of the theme of rebirth, in Bustopher's song, do we know why Bustopher wants to be reborn? Because so far, it seems like his life's fucking awesome.
I think it's Jenny Anydots who points out that he wants to be reborn specifically to become chunky again, right?
Oh, so it's I can see it then not even necessarily as like getting fat again, so much as like, I had one good run, let me go for two.
I like that read.
One more again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
Bustopher
read.
doesn't feel like his life is sucked or anything. He just wants to do it, redo it.
He is a like he's gluttonous in the like not even just food sense, but in like the full hedonism.
Yes.
I dig that.
He's a cat with actual spats.
Let me know what we can change this to, because this is written with Nathan Lane in mind. So as his song is continuing, he exits his own damned song because he's enticed by the smell of garbage, sweet garbage down the alley. He's like, hold on a minute, and like fucks off down an alley.
Oh, the other cats could totally be teasing him with dishes of caviar and salmon and small things to just distract him to pull him away, because they think it's funny that anything upper class he'll chase after.
Oh, there we go.
So,
I like that.
We can still have this iteration of Bustopher Jones head down the alleyway. He's like, oh, is that some, what do rich people eat? I don't fucking know.
Caviar.
Is that some caviar? And like,
McDonald's, but not the dollar menu.
Oh, it could even be like, oh, this is beluga and not this kind of caviar.
I was hyper specific is the way to go on this.
Ooga. Yeah. And as he's heading down the alley, and the rest of the cats are still in the middle of this song, and they're like, "Where the fuck did he go?" We see two yellow glowing eyes illuminate over his head, and then we cut.
Real quick, did we skip Jenny Anydots?
She comes after.
She comes after? I
No,
thought she wasn't.
in the movie she comes first.
That's what I thought.
In this, she's coming second.
Okay, cool.
Specifically because her song flows into Rum Tum Tugger's, which flows into Grisabella's.
Okay, so we've just identified another thing the film fucks up.
It's just choppier in the film. So we do Jenny Anydots' song, The Old Gumby Cat. It remains the same, but we do stop motion with the cockroaches and the mice. I want the kitchen to be a little grodier, and I want her acting to be less desperate.
So this is stop motion inside an anime?
Correct.
Okay.
Or live action.
Stop motion inside live action.
Yeah. When I said anime, that was like for me personally.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That's what
no,
I was like, we doing some Deathly Hallows stuff here? What?
No. This adaptation is more like the producer came to us and they're like, help.
As they should have.
Rather than like what Jack was like, if I could do cats, I'd make it an anime.
Okay,
You know
Carol Channing.
You know what this show is missing? A bunch of Gundams winning mechs.
That's what makes a Gundam cat.
Oh, God. No.
God. So more like Beetlejuice, where you have the stop motion. Yeah. So Rum Tum Tugger's scene also remains the same, but instead of him being startled off by Grisabella, like in the movie, it's weird. He's doing his song and dance, and then he like jumps from the milk bar into the streets, sees her, and just fucks off. Like there's no reason.
This busted down old cat.
Right. Oh God. So he stops the song as he smells nearby. Like he's in the middle of doing his funk thing, stops, is like, I smell that fucking Grisabella. Goes over there, confronts her. Does she sing there in the movie? I can't remember.
A little bit.
She has like a little bit of a song. But this is cut off when Bumballerina scratches her across the face. Yeah. Seeing the mistreatment of Grisabella, Victoria decides to follow after her, Grisabella, as she flees from her attackers. So Bustopher Jones, Old Gumby Cat, Rum Tum Tugger, I want these to be like over the top as smarmy as they are in the show, because I want people to realize these are people that are basically auditioning, but you like them, but you don't want them to be chosen. Whereas the way they're currently presented in the movie is it's a dance number.
Yeah.
Only through like you telling me, Rob, that like they're trying to be chosen was I like, oh, okay.
Well, so there's one other piece to this which is tough, and that is the person who's deciding this is old Deuteronomy,
And not even here yet.
even here yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure how to get around that.
You would probably need. I mean, you'd have to introduce her earlier, or you could ham fist something in where they're like, "Hey guys, this is what I'm going to do. What you think?"
I'm wondering if you could have her, so like almost the opposite of McCavity, where she is seen and like deference is shown. You understand that she's super fucking important, but her role is not explained yet.
Okay. So because we know Judi Dench, we know she's going to be important in some way.
And even like the way that the other cats are around her or
Yeah.
the way you set up shots. I mean, you can imply all of those things. And then, so she's seen, you don't explain what she does and she doesn't talk yet, but she is watching. She's not the focus of these scenes, but like you see that she's there and you see her watching. Would that fuck up something later?
It would, but I think I have a fix.
Oh,
So there
fix
is
for a fix.
So the next thing that comes, well, I'll get to
I mean,
that.
what do you think of that, Rob? You're making.
I mean,
yeah.
So Old Deuteronomy's entrance song is just really pretty music, but nothing ties it where it is in the show. So you could easily stick the "Can it be really" after the Jellicle, like the naming of the cats. You could do Deuteronomy's intro before you get to Bustopher. And musically, it makes zero change to the show other than moving a pretty song forward because it's completely different. It doesn't sound like anything else in the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Is it near an act break in the show?
No.
Oh, then yeah, you can move it where the fuck ever.
Yeah.
I like that more. What I was going to suggest is that it's more ceremonial. Like the song is like ceremonial to the act of the Jellicle Ball, where they like put a robe on her or something, like a step forward, Old Deuteronomy. But no, I like your idea better.
And you
Like,
could actually keep the whole Deuteronomy's acknowledging of Victoria where it normally would occur because it just takes her that long, or him, whatever, you know.
Right.
Deuteronomy takes multiple numbers to, there's a new one here.
Yeah, let's do that. It's now canon to the DeRazzled cut. So Victoria's ran after Grisabella. Victoria, not knowing the streets, becomes lost. Sounds indicate that McCavity is nearby. We don't see his eyes. We hear his
That motif.
Musical.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
That one. She is saved, quote unquote, by Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry. She explains that she's lost and wants to go home. She describes her mama. The two say that they know exactly who that is. They then proceed to break into a house of a wealthier family. They give Victoria a taste of what it's like to run with McCavity rather than be chased by him. Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry, the song Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer plays out with the same amount of threesome energy.
Do we have to?
Yes. They're villains.
I know I've
No.
been painted and painted myself as the house pervert for today, but
Someone had to.
I like Threesome incest cat porn is just where I draw the line, you know?
To be fair, they could be half siblings because a cat litter can have multiple fathers.
Why does that help?
No.
Rob!
First of all,
Cats on your viewing history. And how close you are to West Virginia.
just lost that entire fan base. Goodbye, one person.
Look, you know what? I take back what I said because just based on like what is produced in terms of porn in general, sibling shit's pretty hot right now. So yeah, you can get away with it. Fuck it,
We're
Jack.
aiming for that market.
Yeah, there we go. You nailed it. Congratulations.
No, what I wanted to say was like I want their Mungo Jerry and Rumble Teaser, their sexual energy to be directed at Victoria rather than whoever's in the room.
It's a competition as to who gets her.
So
Yes.
Okay.
So they saw her sitting at the other end of the bar and really like her vibe.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I can stomach that a bit better.
It's not like a weird, creepy villain type pervy. Anyway, so the song plays out at blah, 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 blah. They're looking about the house for her mom. She seems to enjoy playing with the energy of these mischievous cats. The song having finished, Victoria hums the song to herself, still exploring the house for jewelry to swipe. Climbing onto a vanity to reach a jewelry box, Victoria discovers a family picture tucked into the mirror. She takes it, seeing a smiling woman with two happy cats curled on her lap. It starts to set in that she never looked that happy. Not with her family. She starts to say so as she hears one of the siblings coming up behind her. However, when Victoria turns, she's startled to see Jenny Anydots, who looks awful. In shock, Jenny shows Victoria where her tail used to be. All that remains is a bloody stump. Before Victoria can run, the unconscious body of Bustopher Jones falls in her path. Perched above is McCavity, the aged brute revealed in full for the first time. Dressed to resemble kind of a Jack the Ripper, McCavity opens his long coat, adding Bustopher's tail to his collection of severed tails.
Jesus Christ.
This got dark.
In the best of ways.
This was the lighter version. There was way more killing in like my original. Anyway, he tells her not to worry. He saved a spot for hers on the other side. Okay, so like maybe it's a little dark.
Yeah.
No, but you're giving immediacy and a villain to a piece that needs the
Yeah,
push.
100%.
I originally wanted to have him toss the deceased body of Jenny Anydots into the street to stop.
Good Lord.
But I didn't.
Okay.
I applaud your restraint.
She runs. McCavity gives chase, though we only see his presence through the glowing eyes and the glint of claws as he bounces from shadow to shadow. As he chases, he mocks Victoria and her desire to live among them, the people. Sure, they treat you like royalty until they don't. It's hard not to feel like McCavity is speaking from experience. Victoria dives out a window, and when McCavity jumps out, he is caught off guard by the explosion of confetti and horns, a trap of party favors set by Mistopheles.
That's great.
We cut to Mistopheles and Victoria running around a street corner, the sounds of a furious McCavity not far behind. Mistopheles tells Victoria that he went looking for her, not wanting her to miss Deuteronomy's arrival, which we'll have to fix in a second. Initially hesitant, given how she's seen the Jellicles act. She follows when Mistopheles says Deuteronomy may know how to find her mom. Kind of a great Wizard of Oz type character. Like, Deuteronomy knows all.
So is Cat Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Instead of Deuteronomy's arrival, it could be just the ball.
Yeah. It would extend the dialogue into, I came because we're almost at the ball. And then she's like, no, you guys are assholes. I saw the way you treated Grisabella. And she's like, all I want to do is go home to mom. And then he's like, well, we can help you do. Like, I'm gonna do that.
And mom is literally her mother cat.
No, her
Mom was
owner.
the owner that chucked
The
her out
Cruella
of the
DeVille
car.
who threw her out of the car. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Definitely a theme of like adopted family running through this. So Deuteronomy's arrival, subsequent blah 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 blah. We're not doing that anymore. So they go into the theater and the action stops as they wait for the Jellicle moon to move to the center of the circular window above, which is kind of a cool shot in the film. The biggest difference is that the big number, the Jellicle ball, is meant to mark the start of the Jellicle celebration. I want this to be a ceremony, and I guess it kind of is presented that way in the film, but I want it to be like very clear, like this is the opening song that always gets sang or danced or whatever at the beginning of the Jellicle celebration. And the celebration doesn't stop, right? Like the number keeps going into like other shit, but Victoria steps outside to catch her breath. She stops Grisabella. She spots Grisabella down the road, noting that she is also missing her tail. This is an old wound, not like a fresh thing. She approaches Grisabella. Grisabella sings her song just as she did. This is kind of where like my story kind of gets a little rocky. Like even in the movie, I kind of feel like up until the point where the Jellicle ball starts, the plot can be kind of read linearly. It's after this point that it's like just a bunch of shit till the end. So Grisabella sings about memories, a good life she once had. Victoria responds, again, it's the way she did in the film, that she doesn't even have that. This is her first, but in addition to her connecting with Grisabella, this is also her first step of admitting that perhaps her old life wasn't good. That her old family, her old life maybe wasn't how she remembered it and isn't worth searching for. Deuteronomy watches both of these from afar, and I want to have a new song here, one that details her many fabulous lives, the subtext of which being that no matter how difficult the life of a cat, they always have another chance, a chance of possibility to have a happier one. So kind of the rebirth thing that you and I were talking about earlier. Here's where I do Skimbleshanks dirty.
I mean, just saying the name sounds dirty.
It does sound like something I'm like, you didn't want to do that in the public bathroom, but you did.
Yeah.
Inside the theater, we see Skimbleshanks waiting in the wings, anxious to go on. He mouths the word to his song, quietly tap dancing. Suddenly, from deep within the theater, he hears the sound of a train horn. It's like wooden, clunky things. What's all that now? He tap dances his way down the hall, following the sound of the horn. Finally, he arrives to the room where the sound is originating. He throws the door open, only to see Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry tooting wooden horns. Behind him, we see McCavity, his eyes appearing in the dark. Fuck you.
No.
You couldn't even give him like a little bit of his song.
He did. He like mumbled it to himself.
You fuck.
He did a little warm-up tap,
Yeah.
and then he gets his tail eviscerated.
Rob, you can attest to this. The number of like musical theater people I know who will just like tap. Just like
Oh
they'll
yeah,
go
no,
into
it's
a tap.
insane. It's ridiculous. It's a disease.
I'm like, you're just standing there. We're waiting
Yeah.
for something, and you just start tapping.
It's as rampant as Kardashian.
Yeah. This is Skimble Shrinks.
I know.
Shumbledinks.
I know. Quite a many a tap
Shrinkydinks.
dancer who does exactly that.
Yeah.
I may or may not have done it in a couple classes myself.
It's contagious. Mistopheles looks into Gus's room, letting him know that no one could find Skimbleshanks. So he's up next. We get the Gus number as is. And when Gus steps backstage, because his number's over, we hear McCavity mocking him using his asparagus name. Mm-hmm. Gus is terrified. And as he tries to scream for help, it is drowned out by Bum Ballerina's song, which has started up. Outside, Deuteronomy extends a hand to the sulking Victoria, asking if she'd like to see her pick the Jellicle choice. Excited to be noticed by Mother, I mean the leader cat, Victoria happily follows. They enter a room full of properly fucked Jellicles. Because we still get the like Taylor Swift like fucking the cats up song.
Yeah.
It's not fixed. Like she's an awkward actor to have do that thing.
Again, time.
Anyway, gobsmacked, she scolds them, saying that it's time to make the Jellicle choice and demands that all contestants go to the stage. The only cat to appear is Macavity. He opens his coat, displaying the tails of all the contestants. He informs Deuteronomy that they won't be competing, meaning he is the only choice. She refuses. Furious, Macavity says that no one will be chosen ever again. He lunges at Deuteronomy, the two disappearing into the shadows.
That's closer to the original.
Yeah. This sticks pretty close to the movie, not because I want to, but because I couldn't think of anything better. But we'll keep going. If you do have something better, let me know. Panicked, Victoria runs to Mistopheles, shaking him from his nip-induced daze. She tells him to magic Deuteronomy back. He tells her that like what he does is all sleight of hand, like none of it's real. However, with some coaxing, he tries anyhow. However, with each buildup of energy and each wave of his wand, he does materialize a cat, but one of the other kidnapped cats. So he brings Denny Knots back. He brings Gus back. He brings Buster Jones back. And then he's spent. Then we hear a voice behind him, like we did in the film. It's Deuteronomy being led to the stage by an uncomfortably buff Skimbleshanks. Because the cat was ripped.
Have you seen pictures of the dancer actor?
No.
Incredible looking man. I'll have to show
really?
you sometime. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Decent cat. Great man.
He's fucking ripped.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying he could carry Dame Judi Dench.
Yes.
Great. While everyone celebrates, Victoria spots Grisabella watching through the window. She begs her to join, but Grisabella is afraid. However, when Victoria takes Grisabella's hand and puts it to her face, Grisabella melts, now having the confidence to go in with another person. She does. Similar to the film, she sings until she collapses. Victoria responds with a touch of her own song, and the Jellicles come together to hold Grisabella as though that they have already chosen her before Deuteronomy even has to say so.
Ooh.
And then here I have Macavity scene. In my normal way of things, I would have him again try to ride the air balloon up with Grisabella, slip, and
fall on a Napoleon statue.
Break his back on Napoleon's statue. But I don't want to do that because that's not kid friendly. So what do we want to do?
Neither is severed fucking tails, but sure.
He falls on the statue, but he slips off of the head, and on the way down, his tail is cut off by Napoleon's sword.
I had also considered that, actually.
He still lands and he's fine because cat,
right?
He just has
he
tail
lands on his
off.
feet just without a tail.
Yeah.
Or less comedic, since the cats have always been afraid of him. Once Grisabella's selected, if he goes to like push her out of the way, and they all stand up in the way.
That would be good.
If
They all cut off his tail.
Well, no, but they like as a group, the colony banishes him because they will now all stand up for Grisabella as one of their own.
That's the best option, and I think the one who has to be like, "Fuck right off you," has to be Victoria, because she's been tormented, the most visually tormented by him throughout. I also thought about having him have a happy ending, where
like he sees the error of his ways.
Nah, he's still an asshole. Grisabella is floating off. We see her in the background in like a dejected. Macavity like returns home, but like Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer are there to like, it's all right, buddy, and like Grandpa Rough Face Panzram. What the fuck is this cat's name?
Growl Tiger.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it's all right, buddy.
I hate that one actually.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the other one was him like scrounging around for food and having somebody like, hey, where's your little kitty? And like throwing a fish. But that I don't really want to show people. But showing that like
don't show people.
He can maybe rethink his way of feeling towards people.
So you turn him into Grisabella.
Yeah.
He becomes the new Grisabella, so you know there's a possible path to redemption, but you don't have to show it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Maybe even with a mark across his face that matches what Grisabella had.
That would be a good idea. Yeah.
I think some form of circularity would feel best. So either he becomes the new Grisabella or he loses his tail. Those are the two that I think.
What if we So Judi Dench returns with Skimbleshanks, and we then have the scene where McCavity comes in and is confronted by the group, or it's just a matter of like switchy swappy scenes, right? So like, or he could do that when like Grisabella is about to launch.
I think that's your better option.
Yeah,
because then you should not only do you show them, because if that confrontation happens when Deuteronomy comes back, then they're doing it just for Deuteronomy.
Right. But I also do like the thought of having the circular, like he is now rejected, so that he's sent out.
I think that could still work with the timing that you're talking about, Rob. Like right before Grisabella's about to launch.
And then when would we see him being like interacting with a person?
It might just have to be implied by like the facial mark that you were talking about.
Or it could also be a shot of, as we see Grisabella lifting off, we see him underneath.
That might, that'll work. Yeah, let's do that.
And you could even, I don't know, this may be taking a step too far. What you could do is, if he comes back and his coat is destroyed because Mistopheles' magic was like popping it off, Grisabella hands him her coat.
Maybe he can pick up her coat?
Or pick up, something.
Yeah.
To help you. It might be too much, but.
I don't think this movie's got to worry about subtlety. So,
as long as there's no tailography.
Okay. McCavity's banished. Grisabella's sent up. We get a shot. I kind of want to do a shot of like all the main cats anyways, because a lot of the cats kind of get shafted at the end of the movie. Where it's like, we've only focused on these last couple cats. And then we'll also get a clip of him picking up her coat and like fucking off. So as it's happening, they're all watching the balloon drift away. The sun's rising. Hesitantly, Mistopheles asks if Deuteronomy could help Victoria find her way home. Deuteronomy says that she can, but knowingly looks at Victoria. Victoria removes her collar, tossing it aside. Mistopheles nuzzles the spot it occupied. Deuteronomy asks her what her name is, clarifying her Jellicle name, which she says is Bellafaustus. Bella Faustus. And then the movie ends because there's like no good way to end this. Just maybe like a shot of the balloon going off in the sunset.
But a cat is not a dog.
No, but you
cut
could.
it.
You could.
I cut that.
You could do a lyric rewrite of the opening Jellicle Ball number.
Ooh.
As a choral, just a short finale. Something about, of the naming of cats that includes a lyric that ends in, and that is how you found your name.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that.
So like a little kind of ceremony for her.
Yes. And then we get a nice choral thing to end.
Yeah. For musical stuffs.
Yes.
It kind of felt weird to not have that at the end of the movie.
Yes. There are very, very few that don't end that way.
Okay.
We fucking catsed.
We did.
Catsed all over the place.
We did.
Hey, you got through that entire one without shooting a card load all over the place, too.
That's true. So I do have a suggestion
Please.
To add to your issue with how it feels like the second act rambles. If there were a set time by which the Jellicle choice must be made.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
That gives them a reason to, oh my God, we have to get these cats back to get this decision to be made or no one can make it.
That also solves or addresses an issue I was having, which is why if we start the Jellicle Ball ceremonially after some of the cats have already started. I mean, we talked about like whether Deuteronomy is there or not. I still feel like Deuteronomy needs to see these things, but if there's a time limit, then it makes sense. Like, okay, the Jellicle Ball starts when the moon is up top, but we need to get shit going ahead of time because otherwise we'll run out.
Right. Like because we have that visual indicator when the moon matches up with the center of the glass, the window up top.
But there could always be, if it's a rotunda, when it reaches a certain other point on the other side of it, is when the Jellicle choice has to be made.
Yeah.
It could also be that the ball is longer than that ceremony, but that ceremony is just a really focal point within it.
It makes me think about that episode of The Simpsons where they're waiting for the light to hit the line so it's beer time again, and that's what makes me happy.
And in defense of Skimbleshanks, as much as you hate the railway cat, it can be a trimmed down version, but here's why it's important to keep it. Because with the new song you've added, you've now got 3 ballads in a row.
That's a good point.
Oh, Jack, you
do-
fucking idiot.
You gotta put a bop in there to balance it.
Just
stupid bop.
you have it is a stupid bop. You have to play with your audience's emotions so they don't feel them. People tune out after more than 1 ballad in a row.
I mean, they do get kind of boring.
Who can we put in to be Skimbleshanked so we can keep Skimbleshanked?
What?
So I still want someone to be kidnapped by Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry. Mm-hmm. Is there a side cat somewhere we can
I feel
just
like it could
toss in?
still be Skimbleshanks.
We can stick the Rumpus Cat back in.
So do you think maybe do...
Ooh!
No, just don't look so happy about this. I'm so upset.
He's got
Got me
laser
a beer.
glasses.
Yeah.
So how would we still have Rumpelshankskins be catnapped?
Because when he hears the real whistle off stage, it pulls him out of his own number. Same thing as Bustifer with the food.
Okay, so instead of having him like fuck around in the wings, he's doing his number, and then
Here's the
he
real
hears
train.
the-
He's like, I'm off to work, mate!
I love it. I kind of feel like we actually did fix this. Okay, so
There feels like a reason why we are moving from cat to cat in a way that did not sit
In the movie.
in the movie.
Yeah,
So-
no, this actually feels like it has a flow as opposed to it being just a bunch of disjointed numbers kind of
And
happening
there's some
to
stakes.
us.
how
And there's some stakes.
I didn't get to ask the question.
Oh.
Let me ask the question.
That's the question.
Because you're already answering it. So what do you think about our DeRazzled film? Our DeRazzled version of Cats?
I like it. I think it's genuinely an improvement here. I think narratively it actually feels like a fucking narrative.
Yeah.
It's too good to get a Raspberry, but it may get a Golden Globe.
I don't think it's a movie I would enjoy.
Oh, you certainly not.
Me myself, but if like I was a kid and my cousin had it on, I wouldn't like protest and say we should put on Ghostbusters.
No, I think that this would function much better as a movie musical. I think that this would have enough meat to it to like be able to enjoy watching, even though it is still going to be kind of a fever dream.
Yeah.
And
Well, so that's the main problem that I had with the movie was there was the
The
fever
DeRazzled
dream
version?
No, the original. The main problem I had with the original wasn't just the like horror show like Uncanny Valley fever dream part, but it was the fact that it was also boring while that was happening.
yes, this I feel like the introduction of stakes, the introduction of time limits, the
I
more
really like that addition.
the more tangible fear of of McCavity, I think that all lends to a much more compelling experience.
Well, and you've done what the screenwriter tried to do and failed. He expanded Victoria to make it the audience's stand-in and then didn't do anything to make that happen. You've now given the audience multiple points of reference to put themselves in Victoria's place.
Two of the movies I forgot to reference that inspired this kind of take was Labyrinth and The Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
Which are both kind of fever dreams, but have a world you can step into.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest failings of Tom Hooper's film is that there's no world building. There's no you're thrown into a CGI hellscape and not given any kind of real grounding. You're not given any kind of for how much he claims that he was going for this sense of grounded realism. It is. I don't think he knows what those words mean.
Well, even like he couldn't have been because he was going for grounded realism in Les Mis and he made them all sing on fucking set and then they didn't on this.
No.
This was pure lip syncing.
So what would you say the new Rotten Tomatoes score is for this version? Ignoring the audience.
Okay, yeah.
Which is bonkers. I think what it had like 20 was the general.
You said 20 was the general audience was a 53?
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's nuts.
I think the audience would go up to a 60.
I think the audience would go up to like a 75 because less critical,
More forgiving.
more forgiving.
Critic score, the general score. I think there's still going to be plenty of critics who, just by nature of their feelings of Cats on its whole, would still pan it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes up to like a 34 though for me.
34?
I think so.
Okay.
Because the
could
general
see
score is not just critical. I don't think. I think it's a mixture.
I think I could see it going up at least 15%. So I'm going to say 35 at minimum.
Okay.
I think there's another thing that happens with Rotten Tomato scores, and it's if you can make it enough of a movie about movies. Immediate bump.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I don't know if that translates into movies about theater. Because this will have that quality as long as like you don't fuck it up.
Right, because like Chicago did extraordinarily well.
Who directed Chicago?
Rob Marshall from Pittsburgh.
Do I know him?
Oh.
Didn't know Memoirs of a Geisha. He's doing the current live-action Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
He and his sister Kathleen Marshall went to CMU.
No shit.
Bonkers.
I think Alan Parker will with this script have no problem.
And I think that's why you're underdoing your scores a little bit. Alan Parker's name alone is going to put some critics in a good mind, and you're devaluing the aspect of you've improved upon the stage show from which it's sprung. And many times you'll see that where, the movie's better than the show.
So what would you put the Rotten Tomatoes score at?
I'm thinking you're in the 50 to 60s.
Oh. Okay.
You're still going to get people, it's a musical, and you're still going to get people saying, there's a lot of cliche in this story.
You've changed. We've changed, but you've changed that tomato from a green splat to a red tomato.
And that's really what we're going for. What do you think about IMDb, which is currently 2.7 out of 10?
Double it at least.
Yeah, I think it breaks 5 easy.
I think it breaks. I don't think it hits 6 or 7.
Yeah.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I think that when movies are fine, they tend to sit at about a 6.
Yeah, I'd buy a 6.
High 5, low 6.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you, Vince, Rob, for suffering through this. Having some great research.
Yeah.
On
absolutely.
Theater aspects.
I thoroughly enjoyed
aspects.
I thoroughly enjoyed both of your presentations there. That was really good.
Oh, shucks.
Great.
Theater
suggestions for the story.
I really liked that like your inputs for this fix as well. Like this is easily the most collaborative fix I think that we've put together so far. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Hell yeah.
Vince, would you like to plug anything?
No, I'd like my name to stay off my stuff.
Sure. Was there anything you just like and want people to experience?
I mean, I'm having Em watch the anime Cowboy Bebop because she's never seen it before. So yeah, if you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, go watch the original because it's fucking great.
If you haven't watched 1997's Cowboy Bebop, it is fantastic.
Yeah, it's real good.
Might be one of my favorite genre mashup thingies.
It might be one of my favorite pieces of entertainment ever.
That's fair.
Rob.
I guess I will plug the Pirates of Penzance in Carnegie, end of March, first 2 weekends of April of 2022.
Keep an eye out for that. Hell yeah.
Joe.
As always, you can follow me at jmneelis on Instagram, or I'll occasionally post some art stuff here and there. And then in terms of us as a podcast, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at DeRazzled Podcast, and on Twitter at DeRazzledPod.
Please like and subscribe and comment.
Subscribe, comment on any and all platforms.
Use your chaos magic, propel it into the 5th dimension. I'm so tired.
Would you say that you would like people to smash that like button?
Gently press it.
To be fair, we do have a YouTube presence, but so you could smash that like button. That's up to you. I'm not going to make you do that. But please rate reviews, rate it, give us we would love some more 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts, on Podchaser, on Good Pods, wherever you can do that. Please help us get more recognition and higher rankings in those search results on those platforms. And please tell your friends, just share it around. Like we're having a lot of fun doing this, and for the feedback we've been getting from people has been really kind and really great. So
we seem to have really tapped into a kind of stupid people can connect with.
and I'm grateful for that, because I've never wanted anything more in my life.
Vince, take it away. What do we promise to do? We promise to razzle dazzle you. Yeah, we do. Good night, everybody.